bit earlier than the 24th.
Okay, guys, we're going to get started. I'm Pam Martin. I'm the chairman of the Retirees Advisory Board, and we're here today for our annual meeting, but we've got a couple things that we're going to cover. But first of all, it is, we just want to remind you that if you have changed addresses or changed emails or changed telephone numbers, it is very important that you notify the retirement office. It's hard for them to get a hold of you if you have not indicated to them that you have changed all these. So after you get off this meeting, if you have changed any of those, please contact the retirement office and they'll walk you through the procedure of getting that done. With that being said, we're going to go straight to Susan Kirkman, who is head of the benefits section of HR, and she's got loads of information for us today. Right, Susan?
Well, okay, not as much as I'm sure that everyone wishes I had, but I have everything I can share with you. So good morning, everyone.
So if you have any questions for Susan, please wait until the end of her presentation and then we'll field the questions.
I guess first and foremost, what I've heard the most of is we've received a lot of comments based on the letter that I sent out to Cigna participants in March regarding the sale of the Cigna Medicare products. And I just want to reiterate, because I'm still getting questions about it, that although they have sold the business, the plans, the cost of the plans, the administration of the plans is all the same through all of 2025. Nothing will change. Your card is still good. Everything is exactly the same. All of the people, because just to give you some background, when they made the sale, not only did they sell the products, the employees that administered the programs for Cigna all went with them. So they all went with the new company. So basically from my team's point of view, we still have all of the same contacts that we had when they were under Cigna, because they have been maintained on our account through 2025. Now, and just to be clear on what that covers, it's the Cigna True Choice Medicare Advantage Plan and the Cigna Group Medicare Part D prescription drug plan, which is part and parcel to the Cigna 90%. If you're a Medicare participant and you're in the Cigna 90% or 80% plan, your prescription drug is through that Part D plan. The prescription drug for the Cigna True Choice Medicare Advantage is also part of that Group D plan. And those, like I said, will all be in effect through 2025, but they will all go away for 2026. So having said that, I can tell you that we are currently in the process, planning process for 2026 open enrollment. I don't have a lot of information for you because we just have too many plates up in the air that are undecided at this point. What I can tell you is that the United Healthcare Medicare Advantage Plan and the Kaiser Permanente Medicare Advantage Plan will still be available going into 2026. We are currently, we have no plans at this point to market this year for an additional Medicare Advantage plan from a new carrier. So that we just don't have time to do. We are in the process right now of going through a solicitation for a new group Medicare Part D prescription drug plan provider for the 2026 plan year. At this point, the solicitation is being reviewed by the procurement department, hasn't even hit the street yet. We anticipate that will happen in about 2 weeks, and we will be working with a very quick turnaround to make an award on that plan. Our original hope was that we would be able to ride someone else's plan in the area. Unfortunately, most everyone else in the area, the other jurisdictions are in the same boat we are, and they are also currently marketing for a Medicare Part D plan, and this includes schools. So we didn't have anybody that we could write a contract with, and a lot of times people rely on us to have a contract that they can ride. So this year we were kind of all in the same boat. Our solicitation is requesting that they propose and bid on a plan design that is as close to the existing plan that we currently offer as possible. We've given that, we've included all of that information, what's covered in our plan and any of the buy-ups and everything in the RFP information so that they can match the new plan as close to it as possible. So we aren't really, we're hoping that we have minimal plan changes and to create minimal disruption. Having said all that, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is going to be, especially this year, to review your open enrollment material when you get it. Because that's what I just told you is what I can assure you will change. There could be other things that change as well. We had a lot of changes this past open enrollment with this increases and the change in the plans. And I can tell you, I'm still getting calls from people who signed up for something that they didn't really understand. And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. For instance, we moved the United Healthcare prescription drug plan to a fully insured model. We did that to be able to save $300 a month on the retirees' premium cost. Because if we had left it with a fully insured plan, that's what it would have increased. Instead, we were able to drop the increase for close to $100 a month over what it was last year. I've gotten a lot of letters about, cutting the cost. This is an example of a change that we made in an effort to try to reduce the cost to retirees without reducing the benefits. I had a call early on from someone who said, my prescription went up $5, copayment went up $5 with this new change in United Healthcare. And I said, yeah, but you're saving $300 a month on the premium. And they were like, okay, well, thank you. It's good to know. So that's just an example. We are constantly trying to look at ways, but remember, for the fully insured plans, which are the self-insured plans, which are the 90% and the 80% plan, the only thing that we pay the carriers for that is the administrative cost. We pay a flat fee per person that covers the fact that you can use their network, that they administer the claims, that they do the utilization review, and that you have access to their clinicians to answer questions. And that's what we pay them. Everything else is strictly what we're paying for claims. It's what's being used. And that's what drives the cost of those plans. And part of that cost is the cost of inflation for medical services. Like everything else right now, it's gone up, and it has gone up tremendously over the past 3 years. So unfortunately, I'd like to say that we're anticipating lower premium increases, but I would be thankful at this point if they just remained within the same boundaries that they were last year. So having said all that, again, I want to really, really emphasize, please take the time to look through your packets. If you want to mark your calendars, this year's for 2026 open enrollment will run from November 3rd through November 21st. And we anticipate having the packets out in the mail to you around the 20th of October. This is a good point for me to piggyback on what Pam said when she started the meeting, which is, please remember that if you have a change of address, that you not only need to notify the pension office, but you need to notify benefits. Remember, we run on 2 different systems. We run on the Focus system, and they run on a different system, and we need the information reported to us to be able to update it. We do not update anything that doesn't come directly from you, because we won't take it from your children or your spouse unless we have a power of attorney on file for you. We do that for your own protection. So, if you've had a change, please let us know so that you make sure that you get the material in the fall. And I also would really strongly recommend that you plan on attending the meetings. We'll have pretty much the same number of virtual meetings that we've had in the past. We will do one in-person meeting at the Government Center again this year. We do record the meetings so they're accessible on the home, the benefits page that's not only on the Fairfax Net, but is also available on the public website. Let's see, what else did I have in my notes? Something I wanted to, for participants who are in the Cigna 90% and 80% plans, I am happy to announce that Cigna, we will shortly have a new Cigna on-site care advocate. Most of you will remember Keisha, and then we had Alice as a replacement who replaced Keisha when she left. We have a new one that they're going to be hired that we hope will be starting in early June. They've hired her. She's currently in training. And then she'll be available here. She will be physically in our office a couple of days a week. Remember that the purpose of that position is to assist you with escalated claim issues. We always ask that you contact Cigna customer service first, try to resolve it there, but she is available. She will be available to assist with any escalated issues, or if you have something that you need to get approved and you need it done on an escalated basis, that's what they will be there for. I know a lot of times you need prior approvals and things that need to be escalated and pushed along in the process so that you can get the services you need in a timely manner. Those are the kind of things that this person is for. I will tell you that if you will need to make an appointment. If you want to see her in person, she will absolutely be available. We ask that because we don't always know what day she'll be here. They'll have a set day, but because of the amount of people that want to see her, because she's available not only for the retirees, but also for the active population, please call and make an appointment first. And I'm going to tell you, if any of you have tried to call HR Central lately, you'll know that we've administered a new phone tree. We've had some people who've tell us that they can't get through. You have to listen for the phone tree to get to where it tells you to push the button for benefits. That will take you directly to our benefit mailbox. Our mailbox with the benefits department is monitored by one of my team members continuously through the day. Each member of my team has a day they're assigned to, and if they're on vacation, we reassign it to someone else. It is monitored continuously throughout the day. Our policy is that, my policy for my team is that they return phone calls and emails within 24 to 48 hours of receiving it. And if you have an issue that needs to be responded to quicker than that, please let us know when you leave the message that this is something that needs to be addressed immediately, and could you please get a quick turnaround, and we will prioritize the return phone call to you. Along that same line, we have basically modified our entire customer service model for the benefits team based on the fact that we are maximizing remote work for our staff here. Some of our staff, for instance, Agneta Palacio, is very specialized in dealing with matters for retirees. We have other members of the team who can cover some of the things she does, but if she's the one that is the most versed, she works very closely with Amy Bain and Jeff's team over there on retirement. So she's probably the most well-versed of my team in retiree matters and coordinating with the retirement agency and us. So, but she's only here 2 days a week. So if you need to see her for something, we need you to make an appointment ahead of time to make sure that she's here. Having said that, you know, if you go to the retirement office and they tell you that it's, they can't help you, you need to come to our office for the answer, call real quick, make sure she's here. Make sure that she's going to be here. If not, you can leave a message and she can set up an appointment with you for the next day. We're moving to this model to make sure, because recently we've had a lot of people who have come by in person, just stopped by because they were in the area. The person that they wanted to see was not here that day, and consequently we have to send them away, or they came here thinking we were the right place to be and we weren't. So consequently, if you call first, we're able to direct you to the right person and just to expedite getting you the answers that you need. And that's why we've moved to this model of making a personalized appointment. And that's really, unfortunately, I don't have anything else to tell you. That's all I've got for today. So I can take any questions if anyone has them. Yes, Chuck.
Just getting back to something you said before, I mean, I'm on the Cigna 2080 plan, and I obviously have Part D also with Cigna. So my 2080 plan will stay the same in 26 and 27 based on the contract we currently have.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's going to change is only the Part D, so that's going to go from Cigna to something else. So the
Possibly, because it's sort of an interesting thing, the way that they sold this, because our pharmacy with Cigna owns Express Scripts Pharmacy, and they are the ones that have always managed our Part D as well as our commercial regular plan for pharmacy. And the interesting part about this is that Express Scripts has not pulled out of the Part D, so they very well might rebid on the contract when we put it out to bid. So it could end up being pretty much the same thing. It's just that they can't, as well as the new company may also bid on it. It's kind of a very bizarre thing in the world of how they merge and sell things in the business world. But we're also we also expect it to be marketed. We expect to receive a bid from CVS Caremark, their Part D plan, which I believe is called Silver Care. We very well could get some independents as well. We'll look at all of them because obviously we're going to be looking for somebody who's going to give us the best discounts and the best rates.
I was just wondering, the company that bought Cigna Part D, obviously they're going to let it ride for the rest of this fiscal year or calendar year.
Correct.
Did they not just assume the contract and save you the trouble of rebidding it?
No, we actually asked that question of because right now what they're doing is with the sale, they have contracted back for the remainder of 2025. They have contracted back with Cigna's Express Scripts company to manage our existing plan, but they've only contracted back with them through 2025. They use a totally different model, but they're going to be moving the products that they've purchased to their new model for 2026. This is just sort of a bridge period. Does that help?
It does a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
You have a question from John?
Hi, John.
Susan, good morning.
Good morning.
Long time no see.
I know, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you, and I'm just so thankful that you're healthy and doing all the good things. So anyway, hey, as you know, I sit on the retirement board as the elected representative, and as you probably know, and for everybody else's benefit, the retirement board deals with the fund and not the benefits. In other words, we have nothing to do with benefits. We're fiduciaries, and our responsibility is to ensure the proper financial management of the fund is taking place. That having been said, there's been a lot of water over the dam since I retired, namely unions and other kinds of things that have come to be, and legislative changes and things. And there's no way that I can act as I did before I was elected a representative. In other words, before that, as you might recall, I worked as a representative of the Retirees Association to increase the healthcare supplement benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a situation where we were able to put in place what is currently in tiered based on career employees, and you're very familiar with that, I'm sure. The thing that I'm concerned about is with the unions typically are very active, both the uniform and the police unions, and I don't even know whether the employees have a union yet or not, because of not.
No, they're currently voting on it.
So, I'm going to levy this question and or request. Somebody needs to start lobbying the Board of Supervisors. I know budget process is very difficult. And I know that the funds are tight because the economy, the assessments and things like that on both the commercial and residential is not doing so bad, but the commercial stuff is hurting. So they're tight on money. But having said that, so are the retirees, and the supplements haven't changed for some time. Ever since some of the retirees have retired and gone away, I'm not even sure whether a lot of the new supervisors are aware of the relationship of the retirees and healthcare. In other words, the supplement, so to speak. So this is for the broader group, and also for you, Susan, if you can comment on it. Has any movement been made on increasing the supplement in the most recent budget situation?
I have not heard anything, no. I do know, I mean, I do feel like it's a positive thing that in all of the conversations that I've seen regarding the budget, there is an awareness of the retiree benefits, which I haven't ever seen in writing before. I mean, there's been talk about it, but it was actually in when Christina Jackson presented her information on the budget, and when the county executive presented his, there was a bullet point regarding retiree benefits. So, and like I said, it's the first time I've seen that since I've been here in 13 years. And you're right. The last time that we increased the subsidy it was increased by $10, I think. And that was the year before Ed Long retired.
Right, and
because he was the last one that did it. But other than that, I haven't heard any. And I would say, I mean, clearly, in light of yesterday's budget meeting, the voices of residents and people who are concerned make a difference, because there were things that were on the chopping block 2 weeks ago that came off the chopping block from the budget, because right. and it was strictly identified that due to residents. So I would agree with John in that, your voice matters, just remember, you may be one, but you're one of many. So, utilize that power that you have. And I would address it to the board, because that is something that the county executive in the past presented to the board, but the board is the one that approves it, whether there's an increase or not.
Well, I guess the reason I'm speaking up in this, because I can't speak up. I cannot speak up in the context of a benefit enhancement. And so the Retirees Association, or somebody who wants to volunteer on behalf of the Retirees Association that knows the Board of Supervisors. In other words, fortunately, in the position I was in 25 years ago, I was very close to the Board of Supervisors for lots of different reasons, some of which were pleasant, some of which weren't so pleasant. But you have to go and you have to educate the Board of Supervisors one-on-one, and we did that as a group. Now, somebody's got to step up, whether it's the unions, whether it's the collective quantity of just the Retirees Association and police officers and firefighters. Somebody has to go out and make the effort. And again, and
I will say, I agree with you, John. It's going to have to be the retirees, because our ordinance specifically states that the unions cannot negotiate on behalf of retirees. They are not covered entities. Right? Yes, they're not covered entities by the union. Now, they could, negotiate for benefits for their members going into retirement, but not for existing retirees. You are the ones. And remember, you're not the only retired association. Retired firefighters have an association. The retired police officers have multiple associations for their retired employees. You have a bigger voice than just this one group.
Well, I remember that, and we worked together on that.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't want to take up too much time. I just wanted to make sure that.
Now, John, now they're going to label me as a rabble rouser.
No, they won't. No, they won't. But knows how valuable an entity you are to all of us, both active employees and retirees. But again, I just wanted to make that comment because people ask me all the time, what are you going to do about the supplement, John? What are you going to do? I said, I can't do anything about the supplement. I said, the supplement is because of where I sit on the retirement board. I have a responsibility to your retirement funds, and I can't do anything on the benefits. But the retirees, Pamela, the group of people that there's 800, I think 800 people that belong to the Employees Retirement Association. But if you can get together with the fire and then go around, and you have to go around and educate them, because there's new supervisors that have no idea what a supplement is. I'll guarantee you, they don't even probably know that the retirees pay their own health care.
And I can tell you that. I was going to say, and I'm sure that Jeff can vouch for this too, is probably at least once a month, we get phone calls from someone who's a prospective retiree who has no idea that when they retire, they are going to be paying 100% of their premium. Yep. I've even talked to people who have changed their minds and decided they could not retire because they couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. So, the education is a big process, and I would agree with you. They probably are not even remotely aware that you pay for your the full premium.
Okay, I'm going to take my hand down now because that's all I need.
It's good to see you, John.
See you, Susan.
Deborah Piansky was next on the list for questions.
Yes, thank you very much. John, thank you for bringing up that very important situation with the supplement, because we definitely need much more of a supplement in our paychecks, so to say. So thank you for bringing that up. But Susan, I just want to clarify something. I think I got it finally, but I just want to clarify it. Right now, I have Cigna 80%. That will stay in place, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that takes care of one question. And then as Part D is concerned, whatever company you do go with, we will have to send in a form stating that we want this new company? Or will it come automatically?
It'll come automatically because it'll be bundled with your medical plan.
Okay.
Now, what could be different is you could end up with having your Cigna 80% card for your medical, and then end up with a separate card for your pharmacy, depending on the plan.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your help.
Sure.
There was another question. I think Pam Martin had her hand up before Penny Gross put her hand up. So Pam, are you next?
Yeah. So Susan, how long do we still have on this contract for insurance? When do we go out for bid again?
The medical plan?
Yeah.
The current existing contract, well, the base, basically when we wrote the contract, we wrote it for a 5-year contract with 1 2-year renewal and 3 1-year renewals. So this year we will end the base 5-year period will end in 2025. But at this point, we have no reason or intention to not utilize all of the extensions at this point. Okay. Doesn't mean that we would not, for instance, it doesn't mean that next year when I have more time, unfortunately, the sale of the products went on way longer than they anticipated it would, and we couldn't do anything until that had been settled, which doesn't give us a lot of time to really look at a medical plan. It requires a little bit more work than the pharmacy does. So, it's not to say that we wouldn't decide to go out in January, for instance, and put a bid out for another Medicare Advantage plan or a Medigap plan even. We certainly, depending on what is decided amongst budget and the benefits department, we could certainly do that. Doesn't preclude us from doing that just because our existing contract with Cigna is still in effect.
So my other question is, for the last several times, we've only had 2 plans, one of them being Kaiser and another one being like Cigna or whoever, that will maintain in years to come that we will only have 2 plans to be offered.
There's not any real advantage for us offering more because it's kind of a misconception. But remember that only having one plan with Cigna, even though we offer multiple plan designs within that carrier, every time you branch off to a different carrier, you split your risk pool. And as you split your risk pool, that means your cost is going to go up because you have fewer people. Remember, the risk pool, you have people who are really sick, but you have people who use it very little. Everybody's paying the same thing in a group plan. So it balances out and helps to balance the cost. When you start splitting up groups by different carriers, you're reducing your risk pool, which tends to make your plans more expensive.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Good answer.
And Penny Gross, you're next.
Thank you. Good morning. I wanted to go back to the comments that John had made about the supplement. As you may know, I retired from the Board of Supervisors after 28 years, and I was the personnel chair for the board those entire 28 years. I remember when I was first elected, retirees, and it may have been John, I don't remember quite who it all was, but I did get a number of people who wanted to see me about the healthcare supplement. We were able to get it increased at least a couple of times during the time I was on the board. And there were other times where I put it forward, but didn't get it. It didn't get into the budget. So I want to make, and I think you're correct. Many of the newer board members are not aware of a lot of what you all know and what I know now. I would suggest that you connect, that the employees groups, retired employees groups, connect with firefighters, police, retirees, and make a unified press for that, and start those meetings with board members in September of 2025. Don't wait until April of 2026 because everything is already baked into the budget at that time. So you really need to start that process with members of the board early on, well before it gets, actually many of the decisions that the county executive is going to make will be made by the end of November. So get that in early. And make sure that when you, and I probably don't have to tell you how to lobby, but make sure that when you ask for appointments with members of the board, that you include people from that particular magisterial district, because board members are sometimes not going to meet with people who are not in their district, who are not their voters. So that's just some basic ideas, but I wanted to let you know that the last time I think I put forward something for the healthcare supplement was about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was in direct response to a police officer whom I knew quite well, who had to retire early, and before he was qualified for other subsidies, and made a very convincing case. But it did not get into it wasn't accepted as part of the budget. So just wanted to let you know, individual buttonholing of members of the board helps, but it needs to be somebody they know. Thanks.
You have a chat question that came through. What year was the last year a supplement increase was approved?
2015 or 2016.
I think it was 2016.
Yeah, it's when Ed Long was here.
And John, you have your hand up again? You're muted. John, you're muted.
Okay, Penny, thank you very much. It's nice to hear you, and I'm hoping you're having good health. And you're absolutely correct. We came and lobbied you along with the police and the uniform system, or the firefighter people, the guys that were on that retirement situation. And you were instrumental in doing lots of things for retirees. And actually, you were principally one of the people that authorized the graduated career ladder that we have today, because it used to be just a flat $100, or even before that, it was $60. But now that we've got the career ladder, and you were also the last person supervisor that supported putting an extra $10 into the subsidy, because we got some shared costs back on the drug benefits. I forget exactly how that all worked out, but you were responsible for that. So you were very active on behalf of the retirees. The thing that I would say, what was I gonna talk too much, John? But Penny's absolutely right. You got to lobby, you got to pick your timing, and you got to go out and just make appointments and spend the time. And we did that. And Penny was so gracious to give us guidance, and she was very, very good in that way. So I would encourage you to do what Penny said. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, John.
So if there are no more questions for Susan, which I don't see any, we're going to go to Jeff, who is head of the director of the retirement system.
Pam, real quick. If anybody thinks of anything that they want to ask before, after they get off the call, please don't hesitate to send me an email, Susan Kirkman at fairfaxcounty.gov, and I'll be happy to get back to you, because I know a lot of times you start thinking about things after the fact. Please don't hesitate to send me a question, and I'll be happy to take care of it. Everybody have a good day. Stay healthy.
Thanks, Susan. Jeff?
Thank you. So first off, on the retiree health, somebody had asked what how much the supplement is. I think it tops out at $235 a month.
$230.
$230?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was increased, like you said, 2017. The last time it was increased. And and Amy is our chief trainer. When we do training for people getting ready to retire, we always talk about the cost of healthcare and how much the burden that'll be on retirees. And then when we do individual counseling with retirees as they get ready to walk out the door and retire, we also share with them, the costs of those things. So people should be aware when they leave. I mean, again, it doesn't make the situation any better, but at least we know people are aware. So maybe some questions today about where we are in terms of the system, funding and everything, with all that's going on in the world. I'll share some data with you, I guess, as we go through this. Again, the most important thing to remember is we are long-term investors. Our liabilities, our benefits that we owe to you and all your fellow retirees and all future retirees will become payable not just right away, but over 50 plus years. And so we are 68% pre-funded, and that's the key point that people sometimes don't always realize. That funding we have is actually pre-funded. We still have money coming in. And I show you up here, on average, this will vary from year to year, but on average, 56% of the income to the employees' retirement system comes from investment earnings, but still a hefty chunk comes from county contributions, almost a third. And then a smaller amount comes from employee contributions. So what happens, the way the funding on this works, or the funding policy of the county, and it's in county code, is in years where we don't earn as much as the actuary assumes, which is currently 6.75%, county's contributions will go up. Again, not good, but it is a safety valve, if you will, to make sure that the system is funded. And the county, this is very important, has always lived up to their commitment to fund what the actuary has always recommended the funding be every year, never vary from that. Some of the systems you might have heard about around the country that are not doing so well are systems where they didn't contribute what they were supposed to do, or at least some cases, like in the state of Illinois, they actually took years off from contributing because at that time in the early 2000s, they might have been over 100% funded, as we were. But even in those times, the county always lived up to their contribution, and that's really important. Something I don't take for granted for a second. So anyhow, we don't know where we are this year in terms of investment returns. Obviously, you read a lot in the paper, watching the news, whatever, about where investments are. Through March, we were still up about 4%. In the employee system, we don't have April numbers yet. April was pretty volatile, down early in the month, but I think we had some recovery later in the month. The bottom line, we own long-term investors. And so if you look at this, this is looking back, look at the green bars, those are investment returns over a long time. So typically, if by chance this year is not as good a year as we'd like, you can see oftentimes after large downturns, like in the financial crisis, which is there in about 07, 08, we had some very good years after that. And that tends to be the way things are. And over longer periods of time, we tend to do pretty well. And just so you know, this is something the actuary does every year for us. It's a projection of funding for the system. You can see over at the far left on the top, that's the funded status, 68. You can see it goes up to 100% funding in 2036. And in the bottom, you can see what the county has to contribute. And the county's contribution is going up some. And again, this assumes that we earn 6.75% every year. We won't every year. Some years we'll do more. Last year we did 9% this in the employee system. So that was good. But it'll even out over long periods of time. And again, we changed the funding policy in 2016 actually. The Board of Supervisors adopted a new funding policy that really set us up for this. And so we've been on track to be fully funded by about 2036, 2037 for a number of years. It varies a little bit from year to year. And this is from last September, but the board will get an update evaluation of the actuarial this September. And a couple other things so you can see things are still in good shape. Over the last 30 years, this is the returns. You can see employees is on the bottom. Over the last 30 years, on average, we've earned 7.8% per year. All three systems actually have earned over 6.75. Again, the actuary assumes we earn 6.75 every year. If we do that, then the funding will continue to improve. And so, anyhow, we've exceeded that over long periods of time, which I think is important. And let's see. Another thing, and this is getting in the weeds a little bit, but that funding policy change in 2016, which actually kind of hit in 2018. You see the big yellow thing? That's a big chunk of the liability. That's the liability that we owed, the unfunded liability we had in 2018. And at that time, that liability was closed off into a 15-year period, and all the other colors there are closed liability loops. So anyhow, a big part of the liability will roll off in 2034, which will do a lot to help improve the funding of the system. It's a little bit inside baseball there, but that is what it is. A couple other things. The system is well diversified. We have a great team, chief investment officer and other people. In fact, we've even been able to augment our staff over the last few years with the strong support of the employees board, and that's been really good. And you should be very pleased to know that you have a very strong retirement board. John Gateman is the chair of the Employees Retirement Board, has been on the Employees Retirement Board for over 20 years. I don't know the exact number, but John can tell you, but it's a long time. Has been a great member, very much involved. We've had some recent turnover, as there always is with these boards. We just added a new member this last month, and he, as a citizen, has a very strong background. Probably exactly the kind of people we need on these boards, and is a chartered financial analyst, which is kind of the gold standard for investment professionals, if you will, and works for the Farm Credit Administration. Very strong background. I think he'll be a great member. We have a number of other great members also as well, and they're very involved and take a very active interest in this on your behalf. Let's see. And then just last year, we did, the boards received a study called an asset liability study that looked at investment return, various scenarios of economic scenarios under which, could happen over the next 15 years, and looked at what the effect on the investment returns would be, funding of the system and the contribution rates. And in most cases, there was one or two very unlikely but dire straits where it didn't look as good. But even there, we get the full funding. It's just longer, it takes longer to get there. But under most of the scenarios, it looked like we would be able to, over the next 15 years, be able to attain on average at least 675 a year, which again is the standard we really aim for or try to exceed, of course, over the years. So that is what we have there. And I don't know what other questions you have. If I don't say, John, you might want to mention the cost of living. You always typically like to do that. We sent something out, hopefully on the mailing list. I think we shared through your hot flashes as well. So you probably know what it is. It's 2.4%. But anyhow,
the only thing I would add with regard to cost of living is everybody realizes that inflation has been running rampant for the last bit of time, but it's started to come down, and our is a March to March comparison in the CPI index. And I'm always checking that and then getting Jeff to cross-check me when it comes out. The number comes out in April, and everybody always says, well, what is it going to be? Well, this year's and ours is reflected a lot on the energy cost. And as you've gone to the gas station recently, I went to get gas at Costco, and it's finally dropped down below $3, $2.85 a gallon, whereas a year ago it was close to $4 a gallon. So as long as the energy costs stay down, then the inflation for our local metropolitan area typically is not that, and the heating costs typically are a factor of our local inflation. So 2.4 is what we have. But last year we had, what was it, 3.4, or was it
3.4.
3.4.
3.4.
Yeah. I mean, maxed out at 4% a couple of years before that. So inflation's been going crazy. Hopefully that goes down. But the bottom line is that the supplement is what helps to carry us, and quite frankly. So, and just as a comment, and Jeff can comment on this if you would, the budget where the subsidy is listed, it's in the trust fund 73030 in the annual budget. And I think, Jeff, I'm not sure, do you still sit on the state fund for that?
I do. Yeah, there's a state board that a number of jurisdictions around the state, including us and the school system and counties and cities all over. So there's this liability for that. So for your subsidy, as small as it is, and that's whole, as you've heard about, but that the county puts aside money, somewhat like we do for pensions. They have to fund that over time, and it's invested in a board called the VACO VML OPEB Trust Board, which is Other Post-Employment Benefits Trust. I've been the chair of that board until this last year, and somebody else has taken over that recently from Henrico County. But anyhow, I've been on that board for 11 and a half years, and that's somewhat like our pension fund, for example, the Employees Retirement System investments. It's just investments to fund your post-employment benefit, your retiree supplement. And that system has earned, as I recall, similar returns to our Employees Retirement System. Certainly in that ballpark, it's done well. And I don't remember what the status of the county's funding of that subsidy is, but it's pretty high. It had been 100%. I think it went down a little bit, but
it was 105% in FY 2023, and it's 94.3% today. I mean, FY 24
okay.
Per the budget documents. So one of the arguments why the subsidy couldn't be increased was that OPEB needed to be funded and we just couldn't fund both things. So since that's more fully funded, that argument is not necessarily as strong as it used to be. So again, I know more than I should, but I can't say anything necessarily as a retirement official, so to speak. So that's all. That was one of the things I wanted to share with Penny, but she was great, and it was her that just was the driving force in a lot of things for the retirements. So I'm done.
So does anybody have any questions? Have any more questions? So I just want to remind you of two things that were said today. You have a change in address, email, or telephone number. You need to let the retirement office know and the benefit office know. Open season is going to start in November. You will receive a mailing the week of October 20th. There's a lot of mailings that will be coming to your house for open season. Remember, the only thing that you should be aware of is the one for Fairfax County. You'll receive from a lot of insurance companies. In July, you will receive a mailing from the retirement office that will show your cost of living on your annuity check. So with that being said, have a great day. Hope to see you at our next event, which will be in September for our picnic and then for our annual holiday party in December. So everyone have a great day. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
Jeff, anything?